Hello friends, in the last class we have discussed some important points that we have gone through in the course. Today we will continue it and we will see what are the other important points that we have discussed during the course. So, we were discussing the patterns of few of the folk art that we have done elaborately in the course. We have discussed Madhubani in the last class. Now, let us see what are the other folk paintings that we have discussed in the course. The next one is Varli. Varli, as you know, is a folk art from Maharashtra. It is a tribal folk art of the Varli tribe of Maharashtra. So, these are the important features of the Varli art. Varli art use basic geometric shapes for depicting symbols of life and the world around. Three basic shapes commonly used are the circle, the triangle and the square. In rare cases, paintings are composed of straight lines, mostly occurs in the form of dots and dashes. There is absence of mythological and religious figures. This is very important that Varli art mostly talks about life around human being, the mundane life. Unlike other folk art of India, Varli art very rarely depict gods and goddesses and mythological themes. They talk about the mundane day to day life mostly. The themes of Varli art encompasses social life, nature, death, birth and fertility. A common depiction involves circular pattern without any beginning or any end, possibly hinting at eternal life after death. So, as I have been telling that looking at the folk art, you can understand the world view of the community. So, this is one pointer that Varli art are mostly circular. The world, the view of the community, the value that the community holds is that there is nothing like birth and end. It is a eternal cycle. It is after life there is death, after death there is life. So, this also talks about the values that a community holds, that life and death is a eternal process, it is a cyclic process. Originally these paintings were made on the walls of the huts of the tribal people. It was the women who made the paintings. So, similarly like Madhubani, it is also a art of the women folk of the community. They use white paint prepared from rice powder. The paints were made sticky by adding a natural binder. Bamboo sticks were used as brushes. The paint was applied on walls that were made of red, brown or ochre mud. Shapes in Varli, this is important. What are the shapes and what do they entail? Varli paintings are usually done using fewer characters repeated in cascading or continuous pattern. You will see, if you look at a Varli painting, you will see certain patterns are being repeated again and again. The basic characters used in Varli painting are circle, representation of the sun and the moon; triangle, derived from the observation of hills and mountains, the pointed structures; square, considered to be a sacred enclosure. This is thought to be the human addition, that human beings make distinction between in space by creating houses, by creating squarish structures. So, this is a human addition to the world, to the environment around them. So, these three shapes are important: circle, square and triangle. So, these are some examples of Varli painting. You see the repeated patterns, you see depiction of rural life, you see the circles, you see the triangle, you see the square in the hut. This is another example, similar depiction, but different execution, different style. This is another example showing a wedding scene. Then we discussed extensively about the Gond art. Gond art, as you know, is a tribal art, is a folk art from Madhya Pradesh region. The history of the Gond community dates back to nearly 1400 years ago. It is believed that the Gond people could just be imitating their ancestors, as there are cave paintings in the region that go back to the Mesolithic period. So, Gond art is thought to be a extension of the cave paintings. The Gond believe that weaving a good image begets good luck. This belief led them to decorate the walls as well as the floors of the houses with traditional tattoos and motifs. So, this is a very important belief that the Gond community holds, that looking at a good image will bring you good luck. So, this is why they started painting with their houses with beautiful vibrant colors. According to the Gond belief system, each and everything, whether it is hill, river, rock or a tree is inhabited by a spirit and consequently is sacred. So, they paint them in as form of respect and reverence. Goan paintings are a reflection of humans' close connection with their natural surroundings. So, you will see that in Goan painting, you will see trees, you will see animals, you will see rivers, you will see hills. So, this they do because they feel that they think that everything is sacred, everything has a spirit in them, and this also tells us how close they are with the nature and how how much of reverence they have for nature. Goan paintings are described as on-line work. The artists draw the inner as well as outer lines which as much care as possible. Lines are used in such a way that it conveys a sense of movement to the still images. Dots and dashes are added to impart a greater sense of movement and increase the amount of detail. Goan paintings use bright vivid colors such as white, red, blue and yellow. The paints are usually derived naturally from objects such as charcoal, colored soil, plant saps, leaves and even cow dung. More specifically, yellow from Sui mitti, which is type of local sand, brown from Geru mitti, which is another type of sand, green is readily procured from leaves, while the color red is obtained from hibiscus flower. So, these are the different sources of the colors. Goan paintings bear a remarkable likeness to Aboriginal art from Australia, as both styles use dot and to create the painting. So, they have a lot of similarity with the Aboriginal art of Australia. Goan art includes dance, song and painting. So, what are the other forms of Goan art? It not only entails painting, but they also have specific dance and songs. Stories are passed on orally through folk songs. These can be accompanied by traditional string instruments such as the kingri and the bana called demsi. The song convey the religious history of Goan, their deities and mythologies. So, there are the other forms of Goan art as well as other than Goan painting. So, this is one example of Goan painting, the tree of life. So, we now discuss kalamkari, that we have also discussed elaborately in the previous classes. So, we had entire one class dedicated to the kalamkari art. Kalamkari is an ancient, as we know that kalamkari is popular folk art from the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh region of India. Kalamkari is an ancient art, Indian art that originated about 3000 years ago. It was born out of an art of storytelling. This is very unique, that it was born out of another art. It was born out of the art of storytelling. In ancient times, people used to travel from village to village and told stories. Some of them even drew it on canvas. This was how the art of kalamkari was born. During the Mughal era, this art of kalamkari got its recognition. It derives its name from kalam, meaning pen, and kari means work, literally meaning pen work. The artists used bamboo or date palm stick point at one end with a bunch of fine hair attached to the pointed end to be used as the brush or pen. Originally, these paintings were drawn on cotton fabrics only, but now they are drawn on silk and other material as well. The colors used in making these paintings are organic. Most of the colors are prepared using parts of plants, roots, leaves along with mineral salt of iron, tin, copper, alum, etc., which are used as mordant. This style of painting originated in Kalahasti and at Muslipatnam. So, this is the history of where the kalamkari tradition originated. Then we went to another art form from South India, that is Chittara. Chittara or Hase Chittara is a folk art practiced by the Devaru community in Shimoga, Sagar and Uttar Kannada district of Karnataka. The walls are colored with red mud found evidently in the region, and designs are drawn in white paint derived from rice paste and white mud. The lines and patterns on these paintings each symbolize an aspect of nature or depict the religious, social, agricultural practice of the community. The stylized figures of Chittara paintings are generally symbols of birds and grooms, fertility, the sowing of the auspicious paddy, birds, trees, animals, etc. Musicians play auspicious music, birds and grooms effect yogic pose or stand in conjugal harmony. The delicacy is in delineation and in its repetitiveness. The practice of drawing this art is accompanied by music and singing. Every situation and core depicted on the wall has a relevant song. So, this is a very typical art form from Karnataka, and it has its own specificities that I mentioned. So, what are the types of Chitra painting? While the designs on the paintings are common across the entire community, the paintings are divided into three types according to the use of colors. So, the use of color gives its a give each painting its distinct distinctiveness. So, Billy Husse use of white color. When the painting is made of white color only, that is rice flour, it is called Billy Husse. Kapu Hase, use of red color. When it is made of red mud, it is called Kapu Hase, and when it is made with charcoal, it is called Kemmanu Hase, use of black color. So, it might be of three different variety depending upon the color used. So, these are some of the examples of Chitra painting, very intricate lines. This is another one. Now, let us go to another art that we have discussed in the previous class in elaborately. Sohrai. The women of farming community of Hazaribagh district of Jharkhand keep alive a vibrant tradition of mural painting practiced as a ritual art form known as Sohrai. Sohrai is the art of harvest festival in autumn using red, black, yellow and white earth. In Hazaribagh, within a small distance, there are strikingly different painted village houses. Each village belongs to a different community or tribe, hence their motive and style of drawings are different. Large images are painted with twigs on the walls, bulls, horses with riders, wild animals, trees, lotuses, peacocks and horned deities. Sohrai paintings are considered to be good luck paintings. So, as we have already seen in Gond, that even the Sohrai paintings are considered to be bringing good luck. So, they are painted to bring auspiciousness, to bring good luck. Style, there are two major stylistic divisions based on the marriage and harvest season. While the four major painting techniques include scraping with 4 fingers, scraping with broken piece of comb, twig brush and cloth swab. So, there are two distinctive style. One is done during marriage and one is done during harvest, and there are 4 techniques of doing it, like scraping with 4 fingers, scraping with broken pieces of comb, twig brush and cloth swabs. So, these are the different styles. So, we finished the discussion of a few folk arts from India. Then we went to discuss what is the importance of interdisciplinary approach and why is it important to incorporate folk art in our education, in our understanding. Why is it important to incorporate incorporate and take folk art seriously. So, we have seen, I have shown you this figure saying that more and more it is considered, it is accepted that we cannot have very specialized kind of perspective, but we have to take the whole picture in consideration, because the more and more the world is getting connected and issues are also getting connected. This was a figure released by the World Economic Forum in its report in Global Risk in 2014, which showed the dependence of each issues with one another. If you talk about biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse, as in here, you will see how it is connected to climate change, it is connected to man-made environmental catastrophe, natural catastrophe. This in turn is connected to extreme weather events. It is again connected to climate change. So, biodiversity loss is also connected to failure in critical infrastructure. So, this everything is connected to one another, and you cannot have a complete very effective picture if you do not consider the entire issues related to them. So, it is said that you should have a very interdisciplinary kind of approach, you should have a very open approach to understand any problem effectively. So, these are few things, few points that Nisani and Appleby had pointed out why interdisciplinary kind of approach is required, more so in the present times. More meaningful learning experience, a interdisciplinary approach gives you a more disciplinary learning experience, in a comparison to a specialized very specific kind of learning. If you have an interdisciplinary kind of approach, it gives you a more holistic, more meaningful kind of learning experience. New opportunities resulting from crossovers between two disciplines, we have already discussed that, the frontiers of knowledge, they create new kinds of disciplines, they create new kinds of knowledges and new kinds of opportunities, demonstrating real life applications, varied perspectives, flexibility in problem solving, bridge the communication gap between professions. This is very important, that professions hardly talk with each other because they have nothing in common, but when you have a interdisciplinary kind of aptitude, you tend to take interest in different aspects, and the exchange between them, the borrowing and sharing between them increases. It also encourages critical thinking. You are more apt to think critically, you are more apt to think in a more deeper manner. Building confidence, greater creativity, transferable skills. So, these are some of the points that the scholars have mentioned. Having a interdisciplinary kind of approach, what are the advantages of having interdisciplinary kind of approach. So, what is the need of incorporating folk art in our education, or what is the need, or what is the importance of taking folk art seriously? So, I have pointed out three important things that why we should be taking the folk art seriously, or why should we consider the folk art as significant. First is identity. Folk art entails the identity of a community, which is very important now with globalization, or more so in the present times, identities of the community are eroding, they are dying, they are fading away, but the folk art keeps them alive. The art it talks about the vibrant diverse communities. So, it carries the significant identity markers. Close to one heart, so I am sure you must be having art in your own community, and you must be thinking considering them as important to you, as close to your heart. You are very emotional about them. So, everyone's the art from their community, the costumes, the cuisines, the probably the artifact, the basketries, the paintings, they are all close to one's heart, they are very emotional about them. Vast area of traditional knowledge, these are just not things that have cropped up suddenly, they have been there since a long time, they have been passed on from generations to generation. That is why it's a kind of a traditional knowledge that has to be preserved, that has to be paid importance to. Then we came to the most important point of this course, looking at art vis-a-vis science and technology. We have seen that art and science are functionally interdependent. Art and science interact through their functional interdependence. Art is present as creative imagination in science. Science provides reality testing or rationality for art. Although the function of an art is to produce imaginary worlds, and the function of science is to test theories for contact with reality, these functions are interdependent. Science prompts art to create new visions. Art provides science with visions for articulating and testing. So, these are the things that even scholars from the past have also considered art and science as two very important domains, and the need for them to be dependent on each other, or to have certain things that they can share with each other. Then we discuss about folk art as a potent medium of communication. We discussed it folk art, the characteristics of folk art. They have sustained the onslaught of time, that we have seen that folk art are very they have been passed on from generation to generation. So, they have seen a long period of time. They have sustained by changing with the changing times. This is very important. Sometimes we tend to think that folk art are something from the past, but they are actually not. They have changed themselves. That is why they have sustained the onslaught of time. Any person is always a participant in a performance, never an audience. It is spontaneous, it is flexible, it is cost effective, and therefore has enhanced repeatability. It has immediate feedback and increased attentiveness. It is performed in a common language promoting individuality. It is direct and personal. So, these are the certain advantages of folk media in communicating an idea. So, then we saw representation of science and technology using Indian folk art. So, what are the scope? Does Indian folk art have the ability to represent science and technology effectively? Does it have the required vocabulary, the required capacity to have a dialogue with science and technology? So, we had discussed that. So, what are the scope? Folk art are organic, as we have seen, they are from the community themselves, they are born from the community themselves. It has wide acceptance because they are born from the community themselves, they have wide acceptance. They have large vocabulary, we have seen that they are able to represent many topics effectively. Easy mode of communication, it is not complex, it is very lucid. It is low cost, diverse and vibrant. So, then we have discussed the different types of folk art and what are their strength. So, we have seen that there are three types of folk art, one is narrative, the other is performative, and the last one is visual. And what are the different strength? Narrative art easily comprehensible, many times they are explanatory. Few narrative arts such as riddles and idioms encapsulate deep philosophy in short precise manner. They are lucid and relatable. They have so these are the strength of narrative art. Performative, they are vibrant and captivating. These art forms are enchanting and easily reproducible. Visual often are appealing, the vocabulary contain large scope of representing. So, friends, today was the last class and we have seen some of the important points that we have discussed during the course. I hope you had a very lively experience going through the course. I hope it has opened up certain windows in your mind, and I hope it will enable you to think more in a more holistic manner, in a more creative manner, in a more interdisciplinary manner. So, please go through the slides once again and see I am sure it will inspire you to do things that are not even discussed in the course. It will inspire you to think differently than you have been thinking since your childhood. So, goodbye friends.